All right, Pastor Josh Howerton and Pastor Josh McPherson shared 6 habits to raise godly kids. First one, marriage comes first. They call it getting the top button right.
When you're putting on a shirt, if you don't get the top button right, the rest of the shirt's in chaos.
They talk about how there's 3 phases of parenting: caretaker, coach, and counselor.
You're not raising kids, you're raising future adults.
That's right.
Talk about how the table is not just for feeding, it's for leading.
If we haven't talked about it, it didn't happen. Until we've debriefed it as a family, it's not complete as an experience.
In reference to technology, they say don't give them more than they can carry.
I'm not handing my 11-year-old an unfiltered iPhone
No.
because I'm not going to be Adam that stands right next to his family member
That's
while the
right.
serpent devours them.
They talk about parenting toward a vision as opposed to away from behavior.
We want this to be the funnest, safest, healthiest, liveliest place on the planet, and it'll never become that way if you keep acting like that.
And last, they talk about building a joyful home.
We are in the serious business of advancing the kingdom, which means we're not going to take any of ourselves very seriously.
We got spirit, and I know you hear it. There's no give up, give up, give up, give up in us.
What are your thoughts on Josh and Josh talking about raising godly children?
The first thing that strikes me is the one about the table. Tables are for feeding. Like I grew up like seeing that in TV shows and movies, but I didn't realize, oh, that's actually a thing that like families really do in real life. Until I was like a middle school student and I went over to a friend's house and I sat around the table and I'm like, oh, these people like actually like each other and like, they want to actually sit with each other. That just wasn't a thing. And like how powerful it is, like we do family meals together. And it's like, this is dad's time to bring, I see it as my opportunity to invest in my family. And so we're going to bring a family devotional. We do that around the table. My wife is involved in that, certainly. But I see it as my responsibility as dad to really set the chart, or really set the moment, kind of chart the course for dinner time. And it's our best conversations, man. And so, we do that around, we try to do this every night, we try to at least. Hey, what were the best things that happened today? Give me 2 things that happened to you that you love today. Hey, what's one thing that made you sad today? Oh, Josiah took my toy. Like, and it, but like it's real, like just really want to talk about what's going on in our hearts and minds. Hey, mama, what's something that happened today that you really loved? What's something that was really sad today? And just kind of talk about those kind of things. It's been a really, for us as a family, it's really sweet. And I cannot imagine my home without that.
Yeah. We've gone in seasons where we are more consistent having dinner around the table. Lisa being in school right now and her being, out of town one day a week. And then, we're trying to do a date night and we've got a care community that wraps around us. And so one night of the week, Lisa and I go on a date night and our care community comes over and watches the kids. And so, but one of the questions that we ask, just again, to trying to put as many tools into a dad's belt. I love the questions that you shared. One of the questions that we go around the table with is, how did you add value today? Like we want to be we want to be a family that adds value to each other, to our communities at work. And that tends to be, JJ at this point, he always differ. Anytime I ask, like, how did you add value today? His knee-jerk response is, ask mama. Like, he doesn't know how to answer it, so he wants to hear how mom's going to answer it
Delegation.
first. Yeah. Like, all right, touche. But we have not started doing family devotionals. We are trying to do devos in the morning, like family worship before we leave, and like kind of pray to send off everyone. But do you just kind of do like Jesus Storybook Bible, like read and then with 4, 2, and 6 months, like what does family devo look like?
And it's chaotic and it's a mess. It never goes the way I hope. Never. I don't think once it's gone that way. We use a book Kevin DeYoung put together. He's a pastor in North Carolina. It's called the Biggest Storybook Bible, I think it's called. It's basically a kid's, summary of each book of the Bible, or different stories from the Bible. And so we go through that. And so Letty knows that that's her Bible. And then we read it, and then we just talk about it. We just read a story and just ask questions, and then we pray. And that's really it. It's not grandiose. We're talking, it might be 6 minutes. Like that's like,
Yeah.
it's not this real extravagant thing. I wish it was. I wish we were talking about, reformed soteriology. But no, no, it's just this very, very basic. Just read a Bible story and pray, and it's really sweet. They love praying.
I was going to say one thing that always stuck with me from family team stuff and Jim Pryor was how he talked about how like the dad's role is to kind of be the master of ceremonies for your feasting, and there is like we do a weekly Shabbat dinner, so that's like the big dinner that we all look forward to on a Friday night. It kicks off our day of rest from a very Christian perspective, a Christian Sabbath, Christian Shabbat. But the kids, like I've noticed how like when I embrace that role of being a masters of ceremony in that dinner, but also in our other like dinners throughout the week, it just like it doesn't come natural to me to want to do that. Like I want to actually be more passive when I sit down in some ways. I want to hear from my kids and stuff, but the more intentional I am to actually create conversation and to like build the culture of the dinner table, one that honors mom for everything that she's done, and that's like obviously I'm helping her on the meal sometimes too, but also one that's like, hey, like I want to hear what's on your heart, and how do I ask questions in a way that like brings out the heart. We do like a shout outs, especially on our Shabbat dinner. So like, how have you seen your brother live out our family values this week? Like, what does that look like? And like recognizing people for things they've done well has been pretty cool. But yeah, just embracing that role. Like again, it doesn't really come natural to me, but the more I've done it, the better you get at it. To say, hey, I'm gonna actually take responsibility for like creating the culture of this dinner table. It's really cool. Another thing I learned, and I try to do more at the dinner table too, is like to be able to model what it looks like to make mistakes and to have failures with your kids too. So like actually being able to talk through like, hey, here's some high points of my day, yes, but this happened today and Daddy didn't handle it well. And at first, I was really upset and I was disappointed and I said something I shouldn't have said, or I got really distracted and I wasn't able to get some stuff done that I should have gotten done. And just be able to show them that it's not like you're like a dinner table is also like a good place to be able to like talk about the hard things too. I think we want it to be like a place of joy, but I heard that from somebody before of like, how do you model like what it looks like to fail and make mistakes, and the dinner table is a great spot to actually be able to do those things in a redemptive way with your kids too.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do that.
What are you guys doing? So the first one that I talked about was getting the top button right, like making sure the marriage comes first. What are you guys doing to prioritize your marriage in a season where, soon to be 4 kids, 3 kids, the chaos of young kids? How do you prioritize marriage?
Chaos is the right word for it. It does feel that way. I know it sounds really simple. There's nothing profound, but like really the weekly date night, as simple as that may sound, it's profound. It really does change the game. And then, so really just trying to go like, it's worth the money to find the babysitter. Like whatever, like it really is worth energy. And we cannot do it every week. All right, man, like at least twice a month. And do whatever needs to be done to prioritize some time away. If you don't have a lot of money, eat dinner at home. And then if you can have a sitter or someone stay, and then you guys just go out and get ice cream or go to Starbucks and just walk around. It's such a big deal. And then the second thing, practically, that have been really helpful for Elaine and I, is we try to go to bed at the same time every night. And there are so many reasons. Like it just changes the way. Like if we go to bed at the same time, and I need less sleep than she does, and so I just get up earlier than she does, or I can like this morning I can get up the baby and feed the baby, and she can sleep in a little bit. Sleep in being like 4:30, right? 5 a.m. It's not like it's sleeping, right? Sleeping in, but like really like going to bed early together. And then as man, I get up earlier. And, there's moments like you can't make that happen. There's a meeting or something happen, but as often as possible, go to bed together. It puts your whole life on a certain rhythm. And then we can sit in bed and we can chat like, how was the day? And it just makes the kind of, and then we're going to pray and we'll go to bed together. Like it kind of brings the whole day to an end where like she really is my life partner. Yeah. And it's had a monumental impact on our marriage.
One thing that I know I have to get better at, that I've been trying to get better at, is we do go to bed at the same time, But speaking of chaos, like we have always struggled with like really doing a good job with bedtime where the kids stay in bed and where we're hitting like the right time. Like we are not militaristic about it. There's a lot of families who I think do it much better than we do. But I as a dad, like I'm trying to take more responsibility for, like my wife's largely been with them through most of the day, and for me to step up in that moment to be like, hey, you go take a bath, you go whatever, decompress for a little bit. I will make sure that the shenanigans end and we can have some solace as we go to bed at the same time. I got to do better about that. But I'd say another thing that we try to do is connect in the mornings, even if it's just like, hey, she's having tea or coffee, and I'm having tea or coffee. Sometimes I'll have some, but I'm still like I'm spending some time with her where we actually feel like we're able to emotionally connect in the morning, not just like talk about the day, but just feel like even if it's just 5 minutes, even like to start the day that way. And then we have our family devotions and stuff in the morning after that. And it's like the family devotions is awesome, but if we didn't have time together, like the one-on-one, getting the top button right to start the day, it just makes it, you just don't feel like you had that connection throughout the rest of your day until you finally come back together. And I've noticed the days that we do that better in the morning and that I lead, like so today was actually a good morning where I told her the night before, hey, let's make sure we get some time in the morning to be able to just like connect over a cup of coffee before I head out for the day. When I do that well, and I don't often, most of the time, it makes a difference for that day.
Yeah, it really does. I forget who I heard talk about this, but like this idea of having, like, a lot of times date nights end up becoming very logistical meetings about just the everyday goings on of like, hey, we've got this thing on Saturday, so that means you're going to do this, and da, 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 da. And it just becomes very transactional. And obviously, those conversations need to happen.
Right.
I wish I could remember where the source material for this idea came from, but it was essentially like an advocating for the family meeting, and like we have tried to figure out like where in our week does the family meeting make the most sense? Where does it flow? Where can we like really create a rhythm out of it? And we've still struggled with it. We haven't landed where it's going to sit for our family yet. But when we have those family meetings and we are looking 14 days out on our calendar and we have that dedicated space to talk about that stuff, it almost like relieves the mental energy of like, this thing is in the back of my head. I know there's something going on like there's something happening this week, but like it doesn't like, but you know, like, okay, but Sundays after church on our way to lunch with our church, we talk about, we know we pull up the calendar, we go through our like family meeting kind of agenda. So when you know it's going to happen because you've baked it into your rhythm, it can free up date night to be more a heart connection and like, how are you feeling? Like, hey, that thing is going on right now with school or with work or whatever. And so I say that to say we are still trying to figure that out. But if you can solidify that family meeting rhythm, it can help make those other moments with your wife feel way more heart-centric.
I had a friend of mine, David Hill, guy we know, a man here in Orlando area, man who I respect in a lot of ways. And so something he used to do, particularly when the kids were young, he said, I think he called it fight night. He said we would do date night on Wednesday night. We would intentionally have fight night on Tuesday. Like, I think is what he called it. And it was like this, like, we put the kids to bed a little bit earlier than normal. We would intentionally, like, pick fights, like mining for Patrick Lencioni, the famous author, calls it mining for conflict. Like what's going, like, let's intentionally bring up all the junk we're pissed off about and like, get it out on the table so we don't go more than a week. And he goes, and the reason, he realized with his wife, they go on a date night on Wednesday. He's like, or every night, every time they were by themselves, it would turn into, tension. It was like, because his wife would be frustrated and she felt like she never had an opportunity to let it out. And so it's like, if you let it out intentionally, and even so, it's like on on Sunday afternoon, if on Sunday afternoon she's frustrated with something, she knows, okay, she doesn't feel the need to bring it up in every moment where you're walking through Costco because she knows Tuesday night is coming. And so it kind of trained his wife to some extent to like, hey, sometimes our family's doing things and you're just like taking every opportunity to it turn into a fight. So let's designate fight night. Tuesday nights and night we argue about stuff. Unless there's something unless something comes up on Thursday or Friday that's an emergency conflict situation, we push it to Tuesday. And we go, hey, here's this issue that came up last week. Let's talk about it. Let's repent to one another. Let's reconcile. And then like, boom, like tomorrow night, like that's off the plate. Hopefully nothing happens throughout Wednesday. So that you can go out Wednesday night and be like, there's not this like residual thing in the back of your mind.
We just went through that. I felt like, I mean, we just got to the other end of it about a month ago, but prior to that, we'd had probably 2, 3, maybe even 4 consecutive date nights where it was just like every date night just became
Heavy.
a fight about something. And it was, you know, because we just didn't have the space in our week to be able to, like, that was the only time.
Yeah.
So I resonate with that a whole lot.
Yeah, it's really good.
He also said his rhythm. He's been married long. You know, David Hill. If you're watching this, brother, I appreciate you. I was a youth pastor at a church here locally in Orlando area, and his daughters were in the youth group, and I had been in youth ministry for more than a decade at that point, and I had never been around 2 teenage girls who were so secure in themselves. We just were so emotionally healthy. Well, you're like that's just abnormal for teenage girls. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know who your dad is, but I want to meet him. Because whatever he's instilled in you is led to emotional health. And I sought him out. And Mr. Hill and I would disagree on lots of things. But there are these rhythms that he built in his family that I thought were really helpful. He also did this thing, he called it 777. He's kind of an accountant type, financial planner type. So like he's kind of a, you know, rhythm guy. He would say every 7 months, me and my wife must have, every 7 days, we must have a date night. Every 7 weeks, we must have a weekend adventure together. Every 7 months, we must have a week together.
Wow.
And he did this, it was like every 7 days, date night. Every 7 weeks, they would go away for the weekend. It was usually just one night, you know, Friday night, you know, and go out, go to a bed and breakfast
That's
or
really
by
good.
themselves. And then, you know, so it was just 24 hours. Grandparents were a big part of that, obviously helping make that happen on Friday night. And then that was once every 7 weeks, so every other month basically. And then once every 7 months, you're going away for a week, 4 or 5 days at a time.
Just them.
Just the two. He goes, in the early days when they were broke, he goes, we would get up early, we would take our kids, they went to Christian school, they would drop them off to Christian school early, and then they would just spend the day together doing stuff around Central Florida, having fun together, and then they would go pick the kids up from school because they didn't have money for vacation. And so we would spend 5-6 days together during the day. He's like, you can do it even if you're broke. And so not having money is not necessarily the excuse. But he's like, every 7 months to have this, he realized that was about how long it takes for people to really disconnect. That when people really start thinking about divorce or fighting, like escalating the problems of marriage, it's almost always around the 7 to 9 mark where things get really escalated. So if you can have good rhythms before that, you never get to that point.
Yeah. Where are you guys at on technology? So 6 and 7-year-old, you've got one that's much younger. I don't know if yours are even at 4 and 2. If you guys have had much technology conversations.
We are trying to keep screens as much away as we can. So, like, there is an iPad in the house, but like we have just a rule where they can't access that without us. Like, they don't just get the screen given to them, with the exception of like if we like are playing pickleball or something, and they've been playing pickleball for a long time, and we're like, hey, you can watch this show over here. It's like we try to keep like access to screens just very, very minimal, and like we've already set the expectation with them. Like they talk about it, and we have to like kind of regulate it a little bit too, because we don't want them to like become pious about it. But they talk about how they see other kids that are so like addicted to their iPads and to their screens, and they see that, like back to like you've talked about the yuck factor before, of like the yuck. Like they see that and they're like, oh, we don't want to be like that. We don't want to be addicted to a screen. And I got to compliment my 7-year-old son. He was 6 years old at the time, but he got a Nintendo little DS thing, which I was very scared to do. I was like, I don't want to get him into gaming or anything like that. He bought it with his own money. And after having it for like a week or so, he was like, I actually don't want this anymore. Like, I don't want this to be, but I think it's because like he had just like seen us reinforce the values so much of like what we care about and what we were concerned about with technology. So like we're still early days. Again, oldest are 7 and 6, but it seems like like that piece of it is actually going well, of like they've seen our concerns with it. We've talked about our concerns with it and like the dangers of it so much that they're very conscious of it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's actually been a healthy thing. Now, like in terms of like what age do they have a phone, and is it a smartphone, dumb phone? Like I'm inclined for a dumb phone. And maybe, I don't know what that age is going to be for us. We'll have to cross that bridge later. But I also heard a take on technology I thought was really cool. Doug Wilson was talking about how it's like a lot of times we like to vilify, especially like the new AI world. And it's easy for Christians just to kind of like try to vilify technology. And he had an interesting take where he was like, actually, we should look at technology more like it's an element of wealth that we get to steward. So it's like, yeah, it can be totally misstewarded. It can be, but if you think about technology as like the concept of having like this phone in our pockets, like having like thousands of servants available to you at any given time to like do all sorts of things. I want to know about this. Like usually you have to have a servant to do that, or like that's the power of this thing. So instead of like thinking of it as like, oh, it's this kind of really dangerous thing that's inherently kind of evil, it's not necessarily the case, right? And so if we can think of it more like, how do we get our kids to steward
it well.
the wealth?
Mm-hmm.
Like that helped me like reframe, like, how do I want them to think about ChatGPT growing up? Like, because they know about ChatGPT. They'll be like, ask ChatGPT about this, you know, like, but like, so how do I want them to actually think about it? And then approach it from like a perspective of stewarding it, you know?
I mean, technology, I think, is a big part of that whole inviting the evil queen, Sleeping Beauty, Jordan Peterson analogy. It's like technology is one of those things done on our turf. We control the dynamics around how it's used. We really, I mean, what you've done is you've built a culture in your home that is exciting, enticing. There's some, it almost speaks to like what, you know, parenting toward a vision and not away from a behavior. You guys have cast a vision and built a culture in your home that has made playing on a game all day not appealing to a 7-year-old, which is phenomenal. I mean, kudos to you and
Grace
Lex,
of God,
for pulling that off. That's where I want to land the plane in this conversation, is around this idea of parenting toward a vision and not away from behavior. How are you guys doing that?
I think I want to paint the picture consistently of what kind of family we want to be. You know, I think like we're Ortizes, and here's what that means.
Yeah.
There's a brand that you're inheriting. I think some of the brands that do this well in our country, like Disney does this brilliantly. Like Disney has a culture and a brand, and and so whenever you work at Disney, there's an indoctrination you go through.
Yeah.
It's called traditions,
Yes.
but it's an
It is
indoctrination.
brilliant. It is like, regardless of what they're actually teaching,
Right.
like the
method
system,
is-
the
yeah.
method
Yeah.
Right.
of indoctrinating. I've tried to figure it out at Sweetfish. Like, what is the traditions for Sweetfish to indoctrinate them in this?
But once people go through that, they're ready to like run through a wall for
They
Disney.
drink the Kool-Aid,
Yeah,
man.
and there's just like, so like you want to like, you're an Ortiz. You know what that means? Like, you know what that means? Like, Letty, to be an Ortiz, that means that you get to serve people first before you are served. Isn't that awesome?
And you don't whine.
That's right.
God,
No whining.
I've said Carberries don't whine. What is that I'm hearing? Because Carberries don't do that.
That's right. Yeah, and you're just like, you want them to, kind of going back to conversations we've had before about like being a part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
You've now walked into something. Now they don't know that has just started with me and Milena. Like there is no Ortiz legacy, but you're starting it. You're on the ground zero of this, and so we want to be the kind of people that like, this is what we do, and like regularly do it. Regularly meaning like it has to be daily. They forget. I know I do. I struggle with this, and so, you know, we just did this long road trip as a family. We did almost 4,000 miles in 11 days in our minivan, and we didn't have any technology, no iPad. People were like, "Oh, do you have like iPads in the back?" I'm like, my kids didn't know. My kids don't. We don't do screen time. We do very little. And they're like, "How did you do that?" I'm like, "Well, we talk to each other, because that's what Ortizes do. Ortizes talk." And I'm like, everyone who knows Kenny Ortiz knows I'm a talker. That's what Ortiz is. That's what Ortiz is. To be an Ortiz is to be a talker. And I tell it to my kids, and like they're talkers, both of them, and they're gonna talk everyone's ear off. Like, that's what it means to be an Ortiz. You talk, and but just like regularly saying these kind of things, And so I've tried to come up with little quips, like little family maxims. I'm going to want to put them on a wall one day, but like things like we always tell the truth, even when it hurts. Like, you're an Ortiz, and Ortiz don't quit. Like, Ortiz is serve first before anyone else serves. Like, these are these little maxims that I want to put, into my kids. Yeah. Teamwork makes and like my 4-year-old lady, I'll say, teamwork makes and she'll yell out, dream work. Like, those are the kinds of things. Yeah. I'm just like, and like, I need you to help your brother out of the minivan. She helps him out. That was a good team. You know what teamwork does? It makes a dream work, Dad. Like, just training these like little I think maxims and quips, as cheesy as they sound, they really do help get the ideas ingrained in. The last thing I'll say about vision is one of the things I'm really, really passionate about is obviously we all want our kids to love Jesus. And one of the ways we do that is by being curious about the world in which God made. And so while we're driving on freeway, we'll see things. And the question I'm trying to train my kids to ask regularly is, what must God be like that he did this thing? Because the vision is we are people that we engage with God's world, and we're thankful. That's the vision I want to gear toward, right? And so regularly we're eating ice cream. What must God be like that he made ice cream taste good? What does it tell us about God?
That's a great question.
And she's like, she's 4, she doesn't get it yet, right? But she's like, God must be the kind of God that wants us to enjoy life. God, where ice cream, God made milk, and we take milk, and God taught us how to make milk into ice cream. And she's like, wow, God did that? I'm just like, the vision of just being happy in all things, in enjoying God's world, God's creation, God's intuition that's been placed into man. That's the vision for our family. And it comes with daily conversation, daily putting it in front of them over and over and over again.
Yep.
I love that. I also don't know how you did a road trip to that degree without any screens. That's incredible. We do use the iPad when it comes to long road trips. That's amazing. But Ortizes are talkers.
That's right.
That's right. But I was just going to say, just to piggyback on that, like the more that we can be, and Lexi's really good at this actually, like heavenly minded, like getting our kids to think about heaven and envisioning heaven. Like kids have a natural imagination, but to kind of feed that with like getting to think about what does God must be like. I love that angle. And part of as we like articulate our mission statement is that we get to play a part in helping bring heaven to earth. So like the more that you can help them think about what's heaven, and then, oh yeah, this is how we get to help bring heaven to earth. God lets us be a part of bringing heaven to this earth even now. Yeah. And I think that really helps them with family, our family's vision for kingdom.
Anything else here around raising godly kids that
the one component there that they talked about that I think 2 of the 3 are obvious: the caretaker to coach to counselor. Yeah. Right. That kind of the 3 phases. I'm sure there's probably lots of guys you might disagree on the exact verbiage or how many phases there are, but like the idea of like when my kid is young, I'm their caretaker. Like that's obvious.
Yep.
And when my kid is, as they're growing, I'm coaching them how to I'm training them, mentoring them, raising them up. I think those are maybe kind of obvious, even if we don't do them well. The counselor piece, though, is the one that I think is not so obvious. That's the one I think I've seen a lot of adult Christians or a lot of Christians who have adult children struggle. And I don't know that I have a great, I don't have a great relationship. My relationship with my dad is now significantly better than it was years ago, but he's not a believer. So I'm not necessarily seeking out his advice or counsel on most things.
Yeah, that shift from authority to influence is hard.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're riding the coattails of all of the work you did for the first 13, 14, 15 years and hopeful that is preparing your relationship with your kid to where they actually want to heed your influence. And
it's just like in companies hire consultants all the time. Right? It's a very normal thing. And it's like, as a parent, when my kid is an adult, I want to be just like a consultant to them. I'm a phone call away consultant or a coffee date, or whatever, where, who knows where we live, whatever. But like, I'm a consultant to you. My job is just to give you advice and insight, but you have to make the call because you're an adult now. But if we've done our job right as coaches, then I would imagine they will invite us to be counselors. Yeah. The one thing I would imagine, the one thing I've seen with adults who have adult children that kind of kills that often, or 2 things. One is if you're still trying to be a coach when you're a counselor, like, man, the authority is gone. like the authority is over. Now you're an influencer, you're a consultant, you're a counselor. Dude, I don't want to be told what to do. I'm a 43-year-old man. Don't try to tell me what to do. And we've struggled with that a little bit, you know. I love my in-laws. We've struggled with that a little bit. With their in-laws trying to tell us how to do things. I'm like, no, that's like we have different values. We're not going to do that. But I also have seen adults who are just like they're very inviting and hospitable to their adult children, and their adult children seek them out. Yeah, and they're always available. I remember David Hill, who I've already alluded to in this video. He's the kind of guy. He's like, whenever my daughters call, I always try to take the phone call. I always try to be available because I just never know how many times they're gonna, like, they're adults now. They live on their own. They may not call me. It's like if they call me and I'm not available, it makes it slightly less likely that the next time they call me when they need something. So he's like, I try to be as available as possible, within reason, of course, as available as possible, so that they know I'm always available to be the consultant they may need.
This is, I don't know that it's super related to this, but I've wanted to say this for a bit. It's something that I've learned from Jeremy Pryor, but he talks about this idea of like unlocking family resources when you are aligning with what the family places high priority on and values. And for them, it's having kids early and often, which I just love that, just the way of talking about that. And it's, I would say, obviously very countercultural today. Yeah. But essentially, if you act in such a way that you are, aligned to that value, it comes with the unlocking of resources that is going to relieve some of that tension that comes from having kids early. You're broke. Well, family resources are unlocked, and maybe we're going to help you get into that house that it has a little bit more room, or we're gonna be there to hang out with our grandkids. I hate the word babysitting when it comes to dad. It's like you're not babysitting when you're a dad. You're parenting.
Being a dad.
Yeah, and I almost think about it not in the same way, because it's obviously not the grandparents' responsibility to parent their grandkids. But I hate the idea of with Lisa's parents, it does not feel like they are babysitting JJ. Like they want to engage. They want to be with him. They want to spend time with him. And so it almost feels like a blessing to them as much as it's a blessing to us. And they are so gracious and kind. And awesome. I cannot say good enough things about having awesome in-laws that are like actively engaged. I mean, they moved from San Diego to Orlando to be actively engaged in our lives. But there's something, I don't know if it's necessarily tied to this like phases of parenting, but I wonder if being that kind of like actively engaged person in your adult child's life kind of earns you some of that. Like, do they want to come for your advice more when you show to them with your actions how engaged you are in their life and how much you want to serve and be there for them? Part of that is just like if you do that, you're creating more shared time, more shared experiences, and there's just going to be more opportunity for them to ask your advice about things because you are hanging out with grandkids every Friday when they're going and doing date night or whatever. And so there's just natural crossover. So that's my attempt to try to tie that idea that's been like pinging around in the back of my head to this like 3-phase approach. But yeah, this was a really good one. I think these the Joshes are definitely onto something with these habits for raising godly kids.
We got spirit, and I know you hear it. There's no give up in us.